Hello and welcome to another AIC Productions video. Today I want to take a few minutes and go over my Ethereum mining rig. So, when I initially posted this and posted a video about my mining, it was specifically a 3 GTX 1050 Ti's, one of which ended up being bad. So I've been running with 2 GTX 1050 Ti's for, going on 7 months or so. It's middle of January and I did this back in July, and it's actually been going really well. I've made a fair amount of money. The cards basically paid for themselves is what's happened because I traded my Ethereum for dollars at a too low of a price and lost out on money on that. But that's neither here nor there at this point. But recently difficulty has gone up significantly, and so I wanted to upgrade my system, and I was able to pick up another card. We're going to try to do the 3 card thing again. Now when I first did it, we'll swing over here, I had 3 of these just plugged into the system. Let me turn this off. There we go. I had 3 of these plugged in the system, or 2 of these with the 3 cards, and they were just kind of haphazard and everywhere, and I had problems with plugging things in. So I bought a couple of these to get things plugged in and working right, and this didn't work the way I wanted it to, and so obviously I'm not using that. And then once I realized, because the other problem was, I'm like, well, I thought it was one of these that was bad, and so I actually bought a bunch of these. I bought the different models like 3 different times because I kept thinking it was these that was bad, but it ended up being the card that was bad. But I went on Amazon recently. I found this, and this plugs into the PCI Express 1X, but allows you to plug in 4 different cards. So I'm probably going to plug in my new card into the main slot, and the other 2 will plug into this, and that way I don't have any problems with routing. And I'll take the cards and face them so that they point out the back, but they'll just be sitting on their sides, like right now. Okay, swing my camera back. That card's actually in there with the kind of being held in with bracket, but you can see it's at a big angle compared to the card that's actually supported. So I think I'm going to set these in here and rest the cards like this at the bottom of the case, and we'll see how that goes. I think there's enough room to do that. I do have this here, that's actually going to come out. I haven't done it yet because I haven't wanted to power off, because every time I shut my computer off I'm losing money. So I try to do it as seldomly as possible. Even recording this video, I'm letting it run. Then you may ask what kind of card I got. Boom, a 1060 6GB. So I could have gone to a 1070 or 1080 and spent a bunch of money doing that. But I just didn't want to drop $600, $700, $800 on the cards. Cards have gone up in price again because Ethereum's gone up in value. I wish I had bought a card a month ago or so. Well, they got it for Christmas and they dropped right after Christmas and it's back up again. So I just haven't been able to time my pricing right, except for on this card. I paid $290 for this card, but it also has a mail-in rebate, so I think I'll pay like $275 or whatever for this card after rebate. But right now these are going for, on eBay and other places, like on Newegg where I bought this, they're going for over $560. On eBay they're going for over $450. So I could turn around and sell this card and actually make money on it, but I'm going to use it to mine instead, because I think that is the smarter use of the money. Because I'd make about $100, $120 on the card, but then if I pay eBay fees, a few other things will be less than that. I think I'd make that up pretty quickly in a month or 2, having it mine Ethereum for me. So yeah, so we'll go with that. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to shut off the computer. We're going to pull it apart, maybe clean up some of the cabling a little bit, and get this puppy plugged in and ready to go. Power the system back on, install some drivers, and go from there. So yeah, we will be back in, for me, probably several minutes, for you, just a moment. Alright, so I was hoping to show you an assembled computer, but I ran into a major snafu. I got everything put back together, but then I went to power it on and nothing. And so I've torn it all apart trying to figure it out. Somehow I've screwed up the, oh, there we go, power switch. And so when I hit the power switch, nothing happens. So I'm going to have to take the front panel off and screw with that, figure out what I did there. So yeah, taking a lot longer. This is, you know, annoying. But we'll get it up and going here, and I'll show you the end result hopefully here pretty soon. Alright, so I think I might need a larger case because these don't fit in here at all. But we're going to go ahead and get it powered on. We'll go through, make sure everything works. So we'll flip around, get everything plugged in, and get it up and going. So, but everything is back in. I did boot it. It did start to boot. Shut it off because I need to get, you know, I don't have a keyboard or mouse or monitor or anything else plugged in, just the power. So we will be back again in just a few moments. That's really tight in there. I'm pretty sure none of the fans are touching anything. So yeah, we will be right back. All right, let's go ahead and power this on. Oh, I got a fan running somewhere. There it is. Okay. It's on one of the cords for power. Alright, monitor's not turning on. Is that plugged in all the way? Nope, that would help. Video cables do have to be plugged in all the way. I didn't plug in the speaker and I needed to because it's not turning on. Let's plug that speaker in to get the code. Have you ever had one of those things where it doesn't matter what you do, nothing goes right, and you know, you get to feel a little defeated, a little frustrated? That's where I'm at right now. After installing the new graphics card and everything, my motherboard no longer wants to boot. So when I turn the power on, you know, plugged in, turn it on, there's some LEDs on the motherboard, you know, for show. There's one on the clip for the graphics card and one for the part of the motherboard that handles sound. And those come on, but when I hit the power button or try to jump the pins, nothing happens. No fan spin up, no beeps, nothing. I reached out to Asus, who is it Asus? Yeah, Asus, who makes the board. And they gave me the runaround and are not being very helpful in troubleshooting or anything. So I have requested an RMA on that. I'm waiting for their response. But in the meantime, even if they do go ahead and RMA the board, I'm not going to reuse this board. I don't trust it. I've gone ahead and picked up a new board. I'll go ahead and unbox it here. Oh, the other part is I was screwing around so much I actually broke the power button on the case. So I have a new case coming too because I tried soldering this back there. I just ended up melting the plastic because I'm not very good at soldering. I have a lot of practice yet to do. Here is the new motherboard, at least the box it comes in. Let me readjust the camera here. I apologize for my credit camera work. I know I'm not very good with it. I got this up from Newegg. So it comes with some ads in there, which isn't too bad. I don't mind that. Let's see here. Now, this board is the same form factor, but a little bit different than the other board. So, the Asus board I have has a 320 chipset, and this one is a 350. It's an ASRock or ASRock. I believe it's ASRock, is how you pronounce that. That's what I went with this time. Typically I go with a Gigabyte. Unfortunately, the Gigabyte boards were just far too expensive. And this board was under $70. I think it was like $69 or whatever. I'll put a link in the description to it. But the least expensive Gigabyte with the 320, so it's a lesser chipset, was a lot more expensive. It was over $100. So unless I was willing to go with an open box, but I want a full warranty on these because obviously I've already had a problem with one. So let's open this up and take a look, see. So have an IO shield there, have a hard drive cable, instruction booklet and CD. It's a serial number and a screw for the, oh no, that's the screw for the M.2 slot. It does have an M.2, which I needed because that's where all my stuff is stored on. And here is the board. Now this one is similar, like I said, but a little bit different. The first thing that's different is this board does have a USB Type-C in addition to the USB 3 and USB 2. I haven't owned anything that uses a PS2 in a long time. This also has two PCI Express 16 slots and the PCI Express 1 slot there. So I'm hoping that I can have two of my GPUs plugged directly into the board. The new case I'm getting is a little bit bigger, but this actually can have two M.2 slots, one here and one here. So I may end up getting another M.2 drive here. We'll see. I've really enjoyed having that be a feature. What I'm going to do is I'm going to disassemble the board in there and build it on this board here, and the CPU and stuff. This can also have more memory, so I can have 4 slots of memory. So this is just a better board. It was more expensive, but I think in the end it's worth it, and this is what I probably should have bought to begin with. So we're going to go ahead and just make sure that with one graphics card, CPU, memory, that we at least power on, boot, and everything's working here. So I'm going to put the camera aside and get working on that here in a moment. I'm not going to build it in the case. I'm going to build it right here on my board, on top of the box it came in. Since Alinus Tech Tips has told me to do that, it makes a great budget open test bench. So we just want to make sure, once again, that everything works. We boot, that my OS isn't corrupted, I haven't lost anything, and go from there. So we will be back in a little bit. Alright, so we are up and running. It took me a bit longer than I expected to get here. Ran into a couple problems. I'll go over that here in just a moment, but I just want to show you my results so far. I have just a real mild overclock on the memory and GPU clock on all the GPUs. I've overclocked the memory by 1650 megahertz, which seemed to be pretty stable on my 1050 Ti's, so I applied it to the 1060. Downclocked or underclocked the GPU by 20 megahertz and underclocked the power by 20%. So, or limited the power by 20%. And it looks like I'm getting about 51.5 mega hash. I'll have to play with that a little bit once we get there, but this is a happy sight for me to have my Ethereum mining back online, back accepting shares. Let me show you the system here. You have all this time here. What was this? Almost 4 days where I've been offline waiting for parts to show up. Obviously it was a motherboard, because as soon as I've installed all my old parts into the motherboard, everything worked. So let's look at some things here. So those are the two 1050 Ti's. I tried having one of them in the board and it was a no-go. It did not like that. I tried using this guy to plug in the top one, it didn't like that. But this multi-port, the camera here, sorry. This multi-port thing that I have here definitely is doing the trick, and I'm bumping stuff I probably shouldn't be. And so I'll put a link to that in the description of the video. Very happy with that, since everything's working great. And then my GTX 1060 here, working great. Looks good. Of course, I'm buying a case that doesn't have a window, because when I was 20 that was cool, but now that I'm in my 30s and this is going to sit under my desk and nobody's going to see except for me, I just don't care. And so I bought a very inexpensive case, but it's a good name brand. When it gets here, I'll show it to you. So yeah, that's how it's looking right now. It's kind of a mess on my desk. My wife came in and was like, "Oh, you have a terrible mess." I'm like, "Yeah, I know. It'll get cleaned up when everything goes to go in the case." So tomorrow or the next day, whenever the case is showing up, it'll all be going in the case and assembled back under the desk and working. One thing with all three cards, with the clocks, now with everything stock, I was running about 308. Sorry, I'm moving the camera again. I have my kilowatt down there. You probably can't see in the camera, but I was running about 308 watts, and I'm currently running with the mild overclock 330 to 330. So I take that back. 327 to 334. It looks like what that's jumping between. So I have a 450 watt power supply. Power efficiency is at 80%, so I can get up to about 360, 365 watts without any issues. And so I'm well within the power range of the Thermaltake power supply that I have here that came with the previous case. I'm checking the case, but the power supply is plenty good, so I'm going to keep using it. Happy with that. So yeah, the new case doesn't have a power supply. A little bit different of a design, but I think I will be happy with it. It's very quiet. The two fans on the 1060 are very, very quiet. The 1060s are actually noisier and run hotter than the 1060 does. In fact, it may not do it while we're here, but every now and then the fans actually shut off, even while it's still mining, because it runs so much cooler with the two fans, and they run at a slower speed than the single fans on the 1050 Ti's. The only other thing I may do, well, I'm probably pulling too much power, but upgrade the power supply to one that shuts off when it's under a certain load, because it doesn't need to run. But I may be pulling too much juice for that. I'll have to do some research and see if that's even worth doing. But yeah, once I get the case, I'll be putting everything back in, cleaning up the wires, and going from there. So there will be one last piece to this video. Sorry if it's drug on a little bit, but not everything goes to plan. Not everything's perfect. So in a way, I'm kind of glad that this happened, because I have a much better motherboard out of it, which I'll be much happier with. Has some features. I think it actually has a much faster network port on it. I'll have to verify. The one on the Asus may be just 10100, and this one may be 10100 with 1000. And the reason I say that is because I want to transfer a few gigs of files off this system that I hadn't backed up before it crashed, and they moved significantly quicker than they have in the past. So I'll have to verify some specs there. Anyways, thank you for watching, and there will be one more part after this is all in the case. Thank you for watching. Alright, so I'm sure this video seems like it's very rambly and real jumpy in a lot of different parts, and that's because there are. This has spanned now over a week of time. I started last Friday trying to upgrade my system with another card, then the motherboard kicked the bucket, and then I ruined the case. That was my fault. And then I been messing around with it. It's been running fine for a few days, but with just two cards. And I've been hitting my head against the wall trying to figure out why. And finally I'm just like, let me try another power supply. So my friend who also does mining with graphics cards, he does a few different currencies, had this Raid Max he wasn't using. It's a 1200 watt 80 plus gold, and so he's lent it to me to try, and as soon as I put that in, I was able to get all three cards working great. with no issues. So I've been hitting my head against the wall for basically no reason because it was a power supply issue. Here's the power supply I had. It's a Thermaltake 450 watt. Oh, come on, focus, you fuck. I'll tell you the model number. It's a TT-450NL2NK. It's 450 watt, and that should have been plenty for using these cards. In fact, with all 3 cards running on the Raid Max, I'm only using about 280 watts, which is really funny because on the, and I have a kilowatt measuring that, on the Thermaltake, with just 2 cards, upgrading to the 1060 here, and just one of the 1050 Ti's, I think I was at like 310-ish watts. So I'm actually running with 3 cards, 30 watts less. So if you're going to be doing this, don't cheap out on the power supply. I mean, that should just be the case anyways. I did cheap out, and I shouldn't have, because I've probably spent way more money on electricity than I should have been. Because I'm using almost as little as electricity with the 3 cards as I was using with the 2 cards. So there's that. So here are my results. You can see, sorry for the bad camera, you can see the bump up here. I've been running it for the last few hours stably. I've been playing around with the clock. Let me refresh this page here, see if it updates. I've been playing around with the clock a little bit. And I'm getting 52, shows 50.5 there, let's see, 51.260, 51.6 is what I'm showing here, 51, so I'm going to play around with those clock speeds a little bit. I had it clocked up a little bit higher, and then my screen started to freak out a little bit, so, but these are running better, so I'm going to play around with their clock and with the 1060's clock a little bit. Alright, so something interesting I've noticed is that the 1050 Ti's actually run warmer than the 1060 6 gig. I was expecting, because this supposedly pulls a lot more watts, it's I believe it's 100 or 130 watt card, and these are only 70 or 75 watts. You'd think that these would run cooler because they're not pulling as much power, but actually this one runs cooler. The air coming off it is significantly cooler. So I don't know if it's because of the fan. This has 2 fans with heat pipes, and these just have a single fan with a big heat sink on them. So I'm not sure why the discrepancy in temperature between the two, but this one definitely runs a lot cooler. You can also tell that here. Scrolling back close here. So the first card here is the 1060, and it's at 58 degrees, and the other 2 are at 62 and 64 degrees. So they're what, 4 or 6 degrees warmer. So definitely warmer, measured. And, it's not just not by feel, but they actually are measurably warmer. So the last thing is, and I'm sorry it's a mess because it's been a mess, and I really need to clean it up. And to do that, we're going to get it in the box. We're going to get it in the case. So this finally showed up today. It was supposed to be delivered 3 days ago, but it got snowed in Oklahoma, I think. So it was there for like 3 or 4 days, or 2 or 3 days. So it finally got delivered, so we're going to go ahead and build that machine in this case, because that poor sad machine over there I was not kind to, and in trying to fix it I only made things worse. And I really liked that case. It was a nice case. But anyways, this is a Corsair 200R. It's a value series one, but it has some really nice features. It has removable dust filters, and I'm hoping it has enough room for all of the video cards. So it's I believe it's a little bit bigger case than the one I was using as well. So hopefully with a little bit bigger case it will fit everything a little bit better and tidier than they were. So go ahead, stop here, and once everything's together I'll show you how it looks. Alright, so everything's in the case now. I will say this is the first time I've built in this specific case. I've honestly never bought the same case twice, but regardless, this case was super easy to build in. Plenty of room, nice rounded edges, toolless design for a lot of the implements, and yeah, I really like it. A lot of thumb screws like along here. These are thumb screws to hold your expansion cards in. Over here, sorry, I'm using a external light. This is, you got 4 bays for 2.5-inch SSDs. You have, let me move the camera. So this is the bay for the SSDs. There's 4 bays there. There is bays for 3.5-inch where I stuffed a one of my graphics cards in there. You have this open space here, which I stuffed another graphics card. And if I get another smaller form factor graphics card, I could fit a 4th card in here pretty easily. You have your 5.25 up here, and yeah, still plenty of room to work in here. Plenty of room for cable management behind the back panel. So as you can see, I've done an okay job. I'm not great at cable management, but I've done a lot better job than I've done in the past with that. So happy about that. And we'll go ahead and get the side panel on and get it booted up, and we will be good to go mining again, and editing videos and all the other stuff that comes with what I'm doing. So again, I apologize for the rambliness of this video. Just, again, it's been almost 2 weeks that this has been going on, or a week and a half that this has been going on that I've been dealing with this, and I still need to deal with returning my old motherboard for a warranty replacement. I have a stick of RAM I need to replace that failed. Don't tell the manufacturers, but it might have been because of the bad power, a faulty power supply that I was pulling too much from, or maybe they were just faulty to begin with, and were causing me a myriad of issues that, I kept trying to troubleshoot different issues because I had different issues and not getting down to the main issue I was having, which was a power supply issue. So anyways, we'll go ahead and end here. Thank you for watching. I have important links down in the description below. Check those out. I have some affiliate links. If you're interested in cloud mining or purchasing anything on Amazon, I'll link to some of these products down in the description. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have an amazing day.